Welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, the ESPN for all things comedy, with your hosts, Mark Riccadonna and Richie Byrne. And now, grab a drink and welcome Mark Riccadonna and Richie Byrne.
Hey everyone, welcome to the round table.
I'm laughing because I can see you backstage and I'm going,
I know. And I'm trying to post the video live, trying to post the Facebook thing. I'm going, I think I have to do this now. Hey everyone, welcome to the round table. I'm your host, Richie Byrne, and with me as always,
Mark Riccadonna.
How are you today, buddy?
Very good. I've been working out. I've gone one day in a row.
Good.
So,
you look
me. What is it? Brad Trackman had he had such a great joke. You know it's bad when you see results in one day.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite jokes. He gets mad now because I constantly tell him that. I go, you know, Brad, I got to tell you, because I know you love that joke. I know.
I got it, Richie.
So I thought we had a great show yesterday.
That was a lot of fun.
I thought it was just so easy. You know what? I love that when you can just sit back and let the guests just run with it the way Buddy and Jason did. You know, like,
yeah.
You know, I'm worried about today because we have Justin. But
that Jason, I thought the highlight of yesterday was that Jason was not the weird one. Somehow Buddy Fitzpatrick out-weirded Jason.
Which is really hard to do. Really hard.
But it was a lot of fun. But now we actually have Jason sidekick on the Hi, I'm Jason podcast. Justin Gonzalez is going to join us.
Right.
So today's going to be a lot of fun. I really I want to preface this with I feel like Richie's going to have a really great time talking shop with two amazing singers, and I'm just going to listen because I don't know anything about singing. I'm not good at it. I can do an impression of a singer, but I can't actually sing.
What if
I could do Wayne Newton?
You're the one who booked this show, and you're like,
I know.
And let Richie do all the work.
Well, I know I can't sing, but I know these two are amazing, and I know your backgrounds with musical theater, and you do a lot of singing, and so I feel like you guys are all gonna like get along, and I'm gonna be sitting at the nerd table by myself.
Well, it's that's what you do best.
That's true.
Why don't you come out? Introduce our guest.
Right. So we'll bring both the guests out. Let's bring out Justin Gonzalez and Michael Demore. And so I'm so excited to have you both on. I've watched you both this year sing, which is kind of cool because we've been locked down for a year. And but now I get to see both of you guys perform. And Tom, why don't you come out and join us as well? Come out and have some fun with us.
Don't sing.
So, just to introduce our audience and to introduce our audience and Richie to everybody, let's start with Michael. If you give us a little background of what you're doing currently, and we know because of COVID, there's been a long pause on everything, but
this is the highlight of my career right now. this is what I've been striving for.
Me too.
No, listen, I've been a professional singer my whole life. I've worked with a lot of cool people. I'm currently the lead singer of a group called the Capris. That's in the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. So I get to tour doing their hits, which was Morse Code of Love in '82. and Moon Out Tonight, which was 61. You want to talk about waiting for the second one? But I get to sing with these guys, and I do a one-man show nationally that covers kind of 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm having fun. And then I get to meet complete nut jobs like Mark. And we've had so much fun at the shows. My God, it's more fun BSing before and after than it is doing the show itself.
Yeah, and sometimes the show gets in the way, right?
It does.
Think, shit, I gotta go out. Hey,
Exactly.
Don't have any fun without me.
Oh God, I just want to hand him the mic and I'll sit down and drink with his buddies while he does his thing. Yeah.
I really enjoyed. We were working in. We both were working in Englewood, Florida, and I had the night off the night before, so I came and watched Michael. And we had so much fun at your show, and we were busting everyone's chops, and we were having a great time.
Yeah, that's the part of singing I love the most. It has nothing to do with singing. It has to do with breaking people's balls. Okay, that's what's enjoyable. I just got the best compliment from a lifestyle director hired me to do a country club on the east coast of Florida. And she called me after the show and she said, "You don't care who you insult, do you?" I said, "No." It was the best compliment I ever got. I'm not threatening. It's fun. We're here to have a good time.
Do you live in Florida now, Michael?
I am originally from New Jersey. I live in Florida full time.
Okay.
So I've been working down here fairly regularly. The world shut down and all the big stuff canceled, but there was stuff to do down here. And now I'm back on the road and traveling a lot. But it's cool.
A couple of years ago, I did a tour with Melissa Manchester in Florida. Mm-hmm. And she had our tour, but one night was separate. It was for something else. It was a different book. So I wasn't on that. I wasn't booked for that. But she invited me to come to the show. And Clint Holmes opened.
Oh, wow.
Playground in My Mind.
Playground in My Mind.
And I go to the show, and I am not going to lie. I'm like, I don't want to sit through fucking Clint Holmes. Why would I want to sit through Clint? Maybe the best show I've ever seen. We were talking about the greatest shows we ever saw, Mark, as far as rock. Clint Holmes opening.
Clint Holmes
might have been the greatest show I've ever seen. He was phenomenal. I mean, you just couldn't believe how good he was.
He didn't spend all those years on the Vegas Strip by chance.
No. Wow, was he good? And then after the show, they do a meet and greet. And I was like, I cut the line. I'm like, fuck you, I'm in the business. I cut the line. And I go up and I go, hey, man, I've been opening for Melissa. He goes, you're the guy who's been opening? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, stand here. And he started telling everybody, go see him. This guy's really funny. I thought that was really cool. So I'm like, I'm almost like the greatest guy in the world to me.
Oh, God.
You know what's funny? He said something that's so true. He said that for like 20 years, he wouldn't sing Playground in My Mind because he was kind of embarrassed by it because it was his only number one hit. It was his only, I think he won a Grammy for it and everything. And he said he was kind of embarrassed by it. And then he realized, he goes, well, wait a minute. I had a number one hit in my life and everybody else didn't. So screw you, I'm doing the song. And I'm like, that's how I'd be. I'd be singing that song over and I don't give a shit.
I remember a time where you couldn't step on the Vegas Strip without having somebody hand you porn and watching his face go by on a cab. I mean, that was...
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So we all... for our viewers who may not know Justin, even though Justin has a show on our channel, but we also have Justin Gonzalez, who is a opera singer, and then now is a frontman of a band. Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to right now?
Yeah, so since the stages have opened back up, actually all of the facets of everything that I do have started to come back. So I've been doing my one-man shows where I do Salute to the American Songbook and the Best of Broadway, all of the greatest roles I've never played. I am also doing work in the classical realm. In fact, September 12th, I have the honor of being one of the featured soloists in the 9/11 Requiem, in commemoration of 20 years since that tragic event in New York City. I also have been, because of COVID, the band that I'm in, we had our New England tour was totally squashed, but we have been able to revive sections of it this summer, and I have been on the road with 33 and a Third Lives Killer Queen Experience, where we recreate the studio recordings of the greatest rock and roll band in the land, Queen, live on stage. And I am their Freddie Mercury. That's us at the Mock Chunk Opera House just last week.
Yay! Great.
And we
great
packed
venue.
that joint. I was told that if the fire marshal came in to start saying the Our Father, because we were definitely over regulation as far as people that were allowed to be in that joint. But
I was at the Ma Chunk, and Vince, the owner, I brought your name up, and he's like, "We love them. We love them."
Yeah, Vince is such a nice guy. He really, he really. In fact, we were just talking about that. He needs to. Well, he brought up to me that he needs to have us back in less than a year, and we need to do 2 nights in a row. So we're very excited about that. So keep your eyes peeled.
Looks like the guy Vince looks exactly like the Italian Michael Hutchinson. He wore like he had like white pants with a white jacket. He's real little with the big hair. He's walking around here.
He's walking around going, "I'm lonely. Can't take it all."
that reminds me. Thank you to all of our audience checking in out there, everybody that's on the Facebook side or on the Twitch side. And Pandy G from the Middle East actually said Michael looks like the perfect middle-aged American as we see in American movies. See that, Michael?
I knew this was going to be the highlight of my career.
I can tell you right now, Pandy must watch The Sopranos.
I was just going to say, by American movie, we mean The Sopranos.
If Michael comes to your door and you owe money, you're in trouble. He looks like the guy who really regrets he has to break your leg. I'm telling you, I don't want to do it. Just pay the money.
I'm going to break your legs, but let me sing a song first.
Hey, I'll sing to you while they cart you off.
Okay, here's the question. What song would you sing to somebody you're about to break their legs?
Don't go breaking my leg.
Justin, what would you sing before breaking someone's
He literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, "Don't go breaking my heart." Okay, then I'll break your leg. You know?
I was thinking "Kick in the Head" by Dean Martin.
See, now you're dating yourself.
All right, I have a question. Richie, I think, gets a kick out of. I get these weird questions out of nowhere that pop in my head. What is your first memory of listening to the radio? Or an important memory of the radio?
So
I'll tell you mine. It was one of my favorite things to do late at night. I had the cassette recorder and it would have my radio station on, and I would record the songs I wanted, and then I would do my own DJ in between. That was AC/DC Back in Black. Next up, and then whatever the next song, I would do all the DJ parts.
So what you're saying is your career hasn't expanded much since that point. Is that what you're saying?
No, somebody told me, "Do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life."
You're right. You know, it's funny because I don't remember the radio. I do remember the cassette recorder and you know, hitting record and singing and playing it back and going, "Oh God, that sucked," and record and doing it again. That I spent a lot of time doing, but not necessarily the radio. The one thing that does come to mind, and I don't know why when you said that. Do you remember the record label K-Tel?
Sure.
Okay, I remember
like
having a K-Tel record that had some song on it that I loved. I must have drove my mother insane. I must have played the same damn song over and over, and I would watch the damn thing spin while I was singing along. That I remember, but not so much the radio.
No.
It's funny.
Justin?
Go ahead, Justin.
My angry Puerto Rican father, whenever we drove, he was the one who was always in charge of the radio, and we always had for us the oldies station. It was the doo-wop station, and so I remember growing up hearing up on the roof the Drifters and the Temps and just so that was hearing those great vocal arrangements, and then I remember being a little bit older and driving a little bit later in the evening and listening to the classic rock station, and actually very young hearing Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio for the first time, and I was like, this is like grand doo-wop with rock and roll. What the fuck is going on right now? and I was just like, this is amazing that here I'm hearing so many different flavors of something that's being masqueraded as rock and roll, and I was like, you know what? There's some really craziness in art out here, and even as a kid, I knew that something special was happening, in my ears right now.
Yeah. Richie?
We don't have enough time for me to tell all of it, but I grew up kind of lucky because both my parents loved music and both of them could sing. My dad was an amazing singer, and my dad was really into the Sinatra, Dean Martin, that school of thought, the crooner, more, that kind of thing. But he loved like George Harrison and stuff, Paul Simon. My mom was totally into that 50s rock and roll of, the Diamonds and the Frankie Valli was a bit. And so I grew up listening to that, both genres, and also listening to the pop of the early 70s, the night Chicago died and stuff like that. And the Raspberries Michael, you remember the Raspberries?
Yes,
And then it's so funny because somewhere in the middle of that, my dad came home from work and a friend of his had given him 2 albums. And one was the Monkees' first album and the other was Meet the Beatles. And I put that Beatles album on, and it was almost like I grew up in a day. And that was their first real American album. And it just the harmonies blew my mind. The sound blew my mind. And literally, in 1972, I was listening to Little Willie Won't Go Home. By 1975, I was listening to Zeppelin and Floyd. And how did that happen so fast? How did my mind just got blown that way so quickly. You know what I mean? I'm so happy that music was such a huge part of my childhood. In so many ways.
That was going to be my next question, but I want to hear Tom's first. But my next question is, are you guys from musical families? But Tom, I want to hear your radio story.
My radio stories? I just remember as a kid, I could tell you what my parents liked, and I could tell you what I like. So I'm from a slightly different generation than I guess you all. My dad was into classic rock. My mom loved the Rolling Stones. And like a weird assortment of other people.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Charlie Watts. Charlie Watts died today. 80.
Indeed. How old was he?
80.
Wow.
I know. And right now, Keith Richards is going, can you believe it?
I can't
believe the
believe
last one standing.
Who knew?
You believe the kid died?
He is definitely well pickled. And then I feel like I grew up listening to my era was like Biggie Smalls and like Wu-Tang Clan. I remember my father hating like the music that I would listen to. And he used to be like, what's that music ever going to do for you? And then by the time I was like 21, I had an entertainment company and I was doing like 6 figures playing that music. He's like, all right, you got me. He's like, you proved me wrong.
And here's what's funny, Tom, you and I are really close to the same age, but the music I listened to growing up was like Van Halen.
Yeah.
It was like all my cousins were older. So I was listening to 80s music in the 90s. Like I was like, Motley Crue, Van Halen, Poison. I was listening to all that stuff. And meanwhile, the popular music was flying by me.
Right.
You know what? Also where we grew up. Like I feel like I grew up in New York. I feel like that was like the music of the time in New York. And I feel like you were in Ohio. I feel like Ohio had to be a very different.
Dude, Motley Crue is still the preferred music there. It didn't go out of style and come back. It stayed. Like the rest of the country is like, people are cutting mullets, like young kids, Gen Z or whatever. They're like getting mullets. It's never left Ohio. They're like, you go there and you're like, look how ironic that is. It's like, no, that's the real deal.
No.
That guy.
Mark, that's like when my friends would walk into Dangerfield to go, oh, wow, it's really cool. They made it retro. I go, no, they didn't.
No, they haven't even cleaned yet.
This is from 1971, right here.
There's probably still blow on the floor from where Rodney dropped it.
Mark, are you old enough to remember Dangerfield?
Oh, I've played there.
Yeah.
Oh, you are old enough. Okay.
I also started comedy when I was like a teenager, so.
Okay. Okay.
But like, Rodney was not like coming by Dangerfield when I was coming up, because I think he already sold it and kind of went away.
He was part owner till he died, but Tony ran.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richie, you have to have some great Rodney stories. I feel like that was like when you were in
I have one, but Rodney didn't sing in it. Should I tell it?
Yeah.
Tell it.
No respect. No respect. He's rapping Rodney.
I was breastfed by my father. I get no respect.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Well, I think I told this before. In 2000, the year 2000 was the 30th anniversary of Dangerfield being in existence. And back in the 80s, they had those 3 shows on HBO that were huge successes. Seinfeld came out of that, Andrew Dice Clay, Kinnison, Rita Rudner, and they were doing those shows on HBO out of Dangerfield, and Rodney was hosting. So now, fast forward to 2000, Rodney's living in Vegas. He's not really involved with the club, but he signed some deal with some online company, some online business, and he's going to be the face of the company. And the company's they're going public on whatever date it was in 2000. So they have this great idea that they're going to announce that they're going public at Dangerfield's. They're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Dangerfield. Rodney's going to come in and do an hour, and he's going to be the face of this company. And they had a PR firm, and I mean, every news person was there. NBC, CBS, MSNBC, they were all there. And he had Danny Aiello was there, blah, blah, blah. So everything's free for the night. So Dangerfield invited all their comics to come and hang out. So the idea of getting anything free from Dangerfield, we all showed up. We were all at the bar, and we're all drinking. So Rodney's going to do an hour. So Rodney goes up to Tony, his partner, and it was Rodney's wife's birthday. And Rodney goes, all right, I'll tell you, I'm going to do my time. When I'm just about 5 minutes before I'm done, bring the cake up. We'll roll a cake out. We sing happy birthday. I get off. Okay, all right, all good. So Rodney's supposed to do like an hour. So Rodney goes up. Now, most of the people in the audience were from this company. So they're all like in suits. You know, it's like a corporate gig, Mark. But I'm saying corporate gigs suck. Yeah. You know, that's why you charge so much money for a corporate gig, because nobody's laughing. So Rodney goes up. I'll tell you, he does a joke. It gets kind of a laugh, not that much. He does another joke. After about 5 minutes, he goes, all right, where the fuck is the fucking cake? So the cake's in the kitchen. It's in the refrigerator. We gotta run down, and Rodney's going, where's the fucking cake? They're throwing candles on the cake as they're getting up the stairs. They're trying to light the candles. They rush it up. Rodney goes, all right, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Good night. And he walks off. It does like 5 minutes. And he walks off. And he says to Tony, his partner, he goes, tell the comics to stay. I'm going in the green room. When everybody's out of here, I'll come up. So he goes down in the green room. And now people are like, what happened? You know, what just happened? You know, and they're like, oh, he's not feeling well. and like the company wants to know what happened. NBC's walking out with cameras, pissed off. We got nothing. Everybody finally, after about an hour and a half, we finally get everybody out of there. It's just Rodney's family and the comics at the bar, and we've been drinking the whole time. We're hammered. So Rodney comes up from the green room, and he's in the bathrobe with no underwear on. Like, I can't believe he changed it to, because like Rodney's famous for that. He comes up, all right, okay, get everybody around. All right, okay. And he sits down. John Rizzo goes, Rodney, what happened? And Rodney goes, fuck these suits. I get paid no matter what. They want to fucking laugh. I'm not giving them a fucking hour. So everybody laughs, and I go, it's interesting. You were celebrating the club, and you were talking about how you wanted it to look like the shows you did on HBO in the 80s. You had all your comics here. Would have been easier for you just to get up and host something and let us all do like 5-10 minutes each. And Rodney turns to his partner and goes, where the fuck was this kid when we had the meet? About an hour later, we're all hammered. And I turned to Rodney. One cool thing, he knew all about all of us because his best friend lived upstairs, and he used to come down and watch us every night. And he would tell Rodney who was in the club, what they were doing. And at one point, Rodney said, hey, I've heard a lot of good things about you. And I go, I got to tell you, after this night, I think I could quit the business and not even care. And he goes, you should.
That is like totally like what you would expect in a Rodney meeting. Have you guys? What's that?
If you ask somebody, and I've had it happen a lot. Like, did you ever meet Rodney? Could you come up with a better story than that?
It's exactly what you'd want in a Rodney story. Have you guys met someone that you were really disappointed that, knowing the legend of them, but then meeting them? The fact that you think I'm a legend says a lot about where you are in your career.
That's a good question, though, Mark. Go ahead.
Nobody I'm ever going to admit to on a camera, for God's sake. I still got to work with people.
That's a good answer, Michael.
I'm going to give an answer.
You got one?
I do, and it's not so much that they were okay. I mean, it was disappointing for me because I was a young man, and my father took me to so it's full story. Not only is there the disappointment, but then there's a saving of the story. So I was probably 13 years old. My father took me to go see a show called the Summer of Love Tour, and there was all these people on it, but there was two groups in particular that were there that I really wanted to see, and that was the Turtles and Gary Puckett in the Union Gap. And I really wanted to see Gary Puckett because, again, I'm a high voice singer. He had some really great tunes that you could really belt out, and those were some of the singers that I really liked, Gary Puckett, Tom Jones. I really liked those guys that really sang from the chest. And so afterwards, the show's wrapping up, and they say, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to meet the artists of tonight's show, meet them in the lobby. And so I'm like, this is fucking amazing. I'm going to get to meet Gary Puckett. But I'm like, again, I'm 13. I get starstruck if I meet the guy who cleans the toilets at the Metropolitan Opera House. I'm like, oh my God, he works at the Met. So like I like freak out. So I'm like finally talk myself into getting into line. I'm the last person in line for autographs. And I just go up to him and finally like, Mr. Puckett, I just think you're amazing. I love your music, and it's just such an honor to be here. And he turns to his manager and goes, can't I just go?
Oh, man.
And he takes the Sharpie, scribbles his name, and he goes, I'm just so fucking tired. And he just walks away. Like, doesn't even talk to me or anything. And I'm just standing there, and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding. Like, really? So my dad just puts his arm around me. We start to walk away, and these two old guys wave us over. And just start to talk to us, talking like, oh, do you like music? This and I'm like, yeah, And we get talking. It's about like 15 minutes in. We're chatting with these guys. And they're like, yeah, keep at it. And then my dad says, do you mind signing my son's, thing? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they sign it. And I'm like looking at my dad like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is Gary Puckett signed this. And you have these old timers sign this? We walk away and my dad's laughing his ass off. He goes, you have no idea who you've just been talking to for the last 15 minutes, do you? And I said, no. He goes, they were on stage tonight. I go, oh, like, were they playing guitar, drums? He goes, Justin, that was Flo and Eddie.
Wow.
You were just like your evening was just saved by the turtles, talking with these guys that are, this is what it was. They were just hanging on a bench,
So Justin, I got to tell you, Justin, first of all, I hope Lori's not watching this because Gary and Lori are good friends of mine. I've done things with Gary, and I understand I'm not saying a word, but I gotta put two things together. The Turtles, which listen, Happy Together is in my show. I love the song. I always have. When I lived in Jersey, I sang with a guy, and I tell this story in the show. I sang with a guy named Gary Bonner. And as a matter of fact, Mark, I think I told the story the night you were with me. We used to rehearse at Gary's house. Gary had this big, beautiful house in Ringwood. And I say in the show, we had the big circular driveway and a boat out in the back, and we couldn't figure out for the life of us what the hell he did for a living. But we rehearsed at his house. Him and his writing partner, Alan, wrote Eleanor and Happy Together. It's written by Gary Bonner and Alan Price. So it's always kind of been cool to come full circle. And I've done cruises with Gary and shows with Gary. And he's actually on the Happy Together tour right now with the Turtles as we speak. So they're out doing their thing. I think the Cowsills are on it. The Vogues are on it for the first time, I believe. And the Association is on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Are any of the Cowsills still part of the family, or is that?
Yeah. Yes, they are. Who and how, and I have no idea. But yeah, no, that they're still the family.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you got no idea who the Cowsills are, do you? Mark and Tom?
I don't.
No, not an idea. They were actually the inspiration for the Partridge Family.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now you got their attention. Look. Susan Partridge. Look at Mark's face.
You know how I know the Partridge Family so well? As I was managed by Bob Kincaid, and every time his name came up, there you go. Is that Reuben's brother?
You couldn't even get Reuben. You had to get his special brother.
Oh God!
Hey, Mikey from Chicago.
This is and it's not a negative story, but it's not what I expected. But I got to meet George Carlin at Stand Up New York. And he came in, and I'm thinking, George Carlin is a very loud, brash on stage. He's, animated, whatever. He come walking in Stand Up New York, hunched over, ball cap down, didn't want recognized. He walked over. We immediately do you want to go on stage? He's like, no, I'm just here to watch. And he came in, and he sat in the back of the room. He was so quiet. He just wanted a bottle of water. He wanted hidden, so nobody could see him. And he didn't want anybody to know he was there because he didn't want to take away from the comedians that were performing. And he sat in the back of the room, and he goes, just let me know when there's 5 minutes of show left because I'm going to get out of here before the show's over. I don't want people coming out and then talking to me instead of the comedians. And he was so humble and kind and sweet. And then he left. And he called me the next day and left a message thanking me for letting him come in. And he needed a comedian's phone number because he was looking for a new opening act for a gig at the Beacon Theater. And I thought it was so I wasn't disappointed because I thought it was so cool to see him be so human and just normal, and not this big legend. But it was not what I expected. Robin Williams was the same way. He was very quiet when he'd come in, but once people saw he was there, he turned on and was nuts.
Yeah.
Most people, and I've worked with just about everybody I've ever loved at some point or another. Most people, I don't get starstruck. I appreciate people's work. I'm a fan of what they do and how it's been done, but I've never been a starstruck individual. They're regular people. And I can't. I'm playing. I'm doing the Cousin Brucey Palisade Park reunion show Thursday. I got to fly into New Jersey, and I'm doing that with Bobby Rydell and Tony Orlando. So I'm flying up. We're doing it with the Capris. I had a friend of mine who's probably watching this. He bought Cousin Brucey's book, And he came to my show last week and he said, listen, I want to show you what I got. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. He said, great. Now, can you take it, have Brucey sign it, bring it back to me? You know, and Brucey's a great guy, and he's on ABC now instead of Sirius. But we did that when he was on Sirius, which was a lot of fun, you know, because Sirius ran an iron fist, you know, like, but yeah, no, it's always cool. I'm jealous of Justin because he's a damn tenor, and I hate tenors because I'm not one. Okay.
Well, you know, it's more difficult for me to find tracks and charts for all of the good tunes because they're written for baritones. So come on.
Oh now. God. So I got to ask you a question, Justin. Do you sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the original key?
Yes.
I hate you.
we do everything in the original keys as they were recorded. That's kind of the thing of the band.
Yeah. I only drop it like 5 steps, you know. I mean, geez, I'm a baritone with a falsetto, so I do the Frankie Valli stuff all day long.
Oh,
you know? I'm
nice.
hitting those notes, but it's all falsetto. Yeah. And then I meet tenors and I get pissed.
But here's the thing is, but you sing in the falsetto, and that's, you know, again, because you got the microphone, so the voice only has to go 3 inches, you know, that's it. You know, if I'm doing the real tenor stuff, I've still got to fucking work to make it hit the back of that wall, brother. So God bless you. I wish that I could do that.
in the show, I do the prayer. So I do Celine and I do Bocelli. I do both parts.
Beautiful.
And I go back and forth. And I think Mark might have been there when I did that. That's it's a novelty. It's cool to play with those. I do Sonny and Cher together. I do like Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes, and it's a kick. And I can't tell you how many people tell me I should wear a dress. I get pissed at that, by the way. But yeah, I meet natural tenors, and I'm like, God, I'm so pissed.
So that's just because when you add that to the name, that we just get paid more.
Is that what it is? Hold on, wait. I gotta start typing. Hang on.
Now, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask everybody so far. We've all talked about music from a different time, from like other than Tom. Everybody else was listening to music that was maybe before them. If you were able to go back to a certain era as yourself and join the music industry, what time frame would be when you would want to join?
60s.
60s?
I mean, some of the best music ever written or recorded, I believe.
And it was such a revolution of music. I mean, the 60s, just everything changed. You know, I think because they were coming up with everything got electric, and they were starting to discover what they could do with feedback. They were discovering what they could do with keyboards. They just the 60s was just go back and look at the different genres of music that just really blew up in the 60s.
You know what I'm learning, Richie, and I'm only learning it now, is I didn't realize I missed music that was able to cross the line a little bit. There is no line anymore. The line is gone. It's behind you. You can't see it anymore. I had the pleasure of backing up. I played keys and sang behind Jim Yester from the Association. And I did that for years. We would go out and do the Association shows. It was, and they took me to school, by the way. That's where I learned harmony. I thought I knew what I was doing before I sang with them. I didn't know it. But it was a time where, for instance, Jim would tell a story in the show. He said they were playing Disneyland, and he said the bus pulls up and they're greeted by park rangers and said, "We're not letting you in. We're not letting you perform because you guys sing that song about marijuana, Along Comes Mary." And he said the tour manager is fighting with the park rangers, and they're going back and forth, and we're booked. They said, "Sorry, we're not letting you in the park." So they were pushing the line. He said the way we got in, he said there were nuns walking in and recognized him and said, "You're those boys that sing the song about the Virgin Mary."
Wow.
And they went, "Okay, we're done." And they let him in. They let him into the park. You know, but it was a time where you could push the envelope, and there was a little bit of room to kind of do that. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I have a 33-year-old and a 4-year-old. My 33-year-old knows music. My 4-year-old not yet, and I had to play WAP by Cardi B for my wife a year or so ago, and said, "Hey, sweetheart, listen to this hit." You know, when
you want to know one of the funniest things in the world with that song? I had no idea anything about it, but do you guys know who Richard Cheese is?
I actually played this for my girlfriend last night.
He's the guy who plays. He does the songs almost like a nightclub singer.
Yeah, he takes hardcore rap and death metal and puts it to lounge music.
Yeah,
and for it not to be a one-trick pony, I think what's so genius about it is his band is amazing.
Yeah,
Like his band is actually amazing. So when there's like a guitar solo, the piano player is killing it.
Yeah.
And he does WAP. And I finally heard what the lyrics were, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The same year that was number one, Baby It's Cold Outside was taken down for being like proud.
And that what does that say about us as a country?
God. And Mark, I got to tell you, if you ever listened, Paul Anka did an album called Rock Swings. If you're an 80s guy, like he did like Eye of the Tiger with a big band, he did Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yep.
Big band. I mean, it's a cool album. If you're an 80s person, it's cool to watch him do, you know, Survivor and Bon Jovi in kind of lounge. But I'm going to be looking him up tonight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Cheese, it'll blow your mind. And he's been out there forever. So he has like 8 or 9 albums.
Wow.
Yeah. I think his album, the first album of his that I found, it was probably back in 2004, 2005, and it's Richard Cheese, Lounge Against the Machine.
That's his band's name.
Yeah.
They're the Lounge Against the Machine.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, Bobby Ricotta, that's his keyboard player. He's so good.
Right. Pat Boone did one of those 80s heavy metal too, and he did he was doing Judas Priest and Ozzy. Yeah.
Pat Boone actually covered There's a Moon Out Tonight by the Capris, which I had no idea about till I started singing with them. And somebody had come up to me after a show and said, "Did you ever listen to Pat Boone sing it?" And I went, "What?" It was an interesting 3 minutes.
How about he's still alive?
I'm sorry?
Is it because of the Duprees, how you picked your children's age difference? Like how they did with their number ones?
I could say it was, but I sing for the Capris, not the Duprees. Listen, Mark, you're not the first person to get that wrong. It's okay. No, listen, I signed my first record deal in 91. I was doing Latin freestyle. Wow. I was doing shows with Judy Torres and Coro and George Lamont and Brenda Kay. And, you know, I mean, that's how I got into the music business. And I slowly regressed backwards. And now I'm a dwarf singer.
I have a question for both of you. How did you get involved in music, and how serious were you about lessons, voice lessons? Because there are different styles, and people don't realize that. Sometimes there's cadences to styles that you kind of have to hit, but you don't want to sound bad doing it. Were you guys big on voice teachers? Was that important? And what got you started? How'd you get started?
Yeah, Justin.
So I was kind of like a natural singer as a kid. I could pick things up by ear really easily. And then I had an opportunity to audition to go to a special music school here in Philadelphia, a public school, and where I studied from 5th through 12th grade, not just academics, but also music. We had music theory classes. Everyone in the school had to sing in choir. You had the opportunity to play an instrument. I did. We had the opportunity to study music technology. I did. And by the time I was in 7th grade, they put me in the high school concert choir just because they could tell that I really loved music. And then I was in 8th grade when I was hired to do my first European tour as a featured soloist. And that was kind of the start of everything. I mean, I was this poor kid from Northeast Philadelphia, you know, who had no idea what he was going to do with his life. And the next thing I know, I'm standing in Notre Dame in Paris singing and hearing my voice, you know, reverberate in that space. And I was like, oh no, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know, I've lost out on all that teenage angst of trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I fucking know. Like, oh no. So yeah, I came back to Philly after that tour. A special master class happened at my school, and the woman who gave the master class went to my principal and said, I want to teach this kid. And he, you know, told her, like, I'm sorry, he comes from a really poor family. It's lucky that he came to school with clean clothes. Like, honestly, like, I'm sorry, you know, that's probably not the right tree to be barking up. And she just looked at him and said, I didn't say that I wanted his money. I know that there are wolves dressed in sheep's clothing in this industry, and someone needs to protect this boy. She was a professor at the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia, which is one of the top 5 schools for opera training in the world. And she taught me for 15 years without taking a penny. And that opened up just so many opportunities for me as far as, and she wasn't one of the people to train me to be an opera singer. She taught me how to use my instrument so that way I could be a working musician. Because she knew that, you know, I was a kid and that I was in a situation where I needed to be able to make money to help my family and all of that. So while I was singing with the Philadelphia Orchestra up at Carnegie Hall, I was also playing in all of the nightclubs in South Jersey with a top 40 band playing trombone and singing, you know, Jay Black and the Americans and you know, Roy Orbison. And so, I mean, that vocal training was huge because, again, it taught me how to use my instrument so that I could put it towards different styles of music. But I mean, the heart of my training and the heart of my career has been as a classical musician. And you know, it's that training that has really allowed me to continue telling these beautiful stories.
All right, Justin, thanks for not answering.
So wait, I have to expand on what Justin said because we're all entertainers. I mean, we've all been bitten by the bug. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now if we weren't. You know, well, once you're used to being on stage and in front of people and you get that high that everybody talks of, it's really hard to let that go. You know, it becomes a regular thing. What Justin's saying, and I think everybody has somebody or some people along the way. I wasn't trained. I came from a musical family. My oldest daughter, went to Arts High. Okay, and she's on Broadway. You know, so she's in the field. She's done it. I grew up doing it, you know, so it was really cool. But I've had some really important people like his instructor, as I've been performing through all these years, that have kicked me dead in the ass and said, "No, kid, you're doing it wrong," okay, and gotten me back on track. You know, and there's no new artist. No, I just had some people come to a show in Florida and brought me a kid they knew from church. And said, you know, he's up and coming, and there's nobody I won't try to help because I've had so many people along the way, like Justin's talking about, a teacher that, you know, taught him for 15 years with no expectation except wanting to teach him and take care of him. You know, we've all had role models and people that have mentored us a little bit. So I've been really lucky that way. And I try to pay that forward every opportunity I get. You know, I mean, like you were talking about George Carlin earlier, how much of him was part of your comedic schooling? You know,
Richie thanks me every day for letting him be on this podcast.
Yeah, Rich, you're not going to win. None of us are helping you here. I'm sorry.
You
guys can address that camera all day. It's not going to help you.
No, but I think that's what's so cool about, and that's why I made him leave.
No, I broke, right? All I heard was Richie thanks me every day for letting me on the podcast, and then everything broke up on me. That was the last thing
I heard. Everything we said after that. Oh my God! There he goes again.
Listen, Richie is a bit of a snowflake, and sorry. No, but it's why this is one of the reasons why I was looking forward to this show. And what most of our shows and the people that we surround ourselves with you guys are good people. You guys both give back as people gave to you. And I think that's so important. And I get nervous that a lot of people don't do that. I think there's a lot of people who think, you know, you step on the throats of the people to get ahead instead of helping prop up people
So you know this because it's in every facet of every form of entertainment. There's a lot of people that are up and coming or insecure or, marginally talented or whatever you want to do, and it becomes really cutthroat. I'm not talking about Richie. We were talking about your amazing computer skills while you were gone. But there's a lot of people that it's all mine. And I've said for years, I'll do shows. Justin walks into a show one night that I'm doing, and I know he's a singer. I'm putting him on stage. Get up here. What do you want to do? If bringing him up to do a song is going to cost me a gig, then I need to go home and look at what I'm doing wrong because it has nothing to do with him. I've done this for a lot of people where if I know you, and then of course you get people that want to just jump up and I don't know you, so I'm very sorry. It's not going to happen. But anytime I get an opportunity to work with somebody or give somebody advice, I mean, what the hell does that cost me? 15 minutes of my time? It's the least I can do. We're all entertainers,
Yeah.
That's
and
why
there are going to be people that sing Queen in the original key, and I get really upset. But
Yeah. In the same vein, that's why we bring Tom on the show.
Thank you.
I thought it was a Make-A-Wish thing, but all right.
Look what Jason wrote. So funny.
This show is so much more structured when Buddy and him are on.
All right, I have a question for you guys, and I asked Rob Halford this, and he said when I asked him, he goes, "F you." Now I'm going to think about this for months. But I said, if you could get a time machine, you could go back and replace any musician in a band or singer in a band. You could join any band you wanted. Who would it be, and why? Don't all answer at once.
I mean, my gut.
I can't answer. I don't have any musical talent.
Like my gut jerk reaction is not to replace anyone in a band, but to replace or to step in the shoes of Mario Lanza. That would be my gut reaction. I mean, he was just what he was able to do in his short time. I was just outstanding. I mean, of course, in my head, I'll be like, okay, just don't do the crazy things that led to him, dying the way that he did. But, or maybe handle my mental health a little bit differently. But again, just the first person, at least as far as my research and my memory goes, which those of you that know me knows that it's broken. But I believe he was the first one to sell 1 million records of his recording of "Be My Love," and he was the first one to do that. And I mean, just such an amazing, beautiful piece of music and piece of storytelling. And if that could have been me, I mean, go fuck all of you.
Tell us how you really feel, Justin.
that's my gut reaction.
Sugarcoat these answers now, man.
No, hey.
Maybe I could replace the one guy from the Mighty Boss Stones that doesn't play an instrument. He just dances behind the singer.
More cowbell.
Mark, I see you. I think Sid Vicious, personally, but
Sid Vicious ate the Sex Pistols.
Well, can I answer?
Who would you be, Richie?
For me, it's really easy, but it's also probably a hacky answer, but I don't care.
Paul McCartney?
I would want, a younger me would have said John Lennon, but then I would have thought, well, I don't want to die at 40 and have to fuck Yoko. So
you just want her to sing to you, Richie. That's all.
I mean, but the Beatles in general, even more so than Elvis, because he was alone in that, going through that. They at least had each other to go be with when. I mean, I would love to know what that craziness was like, because and to have that much talent and to be able to go, yeah, we're not going to work live anymore because it's not worth it. And, and to give up that and then to become to be that creative in a studio. I don't know. For me, it would be hard to be anything but but it would always be the Beatles because even that, like Elvis didn't really turn into here's where he went next until like the late 70s. I mean, the late 60s. But the Beatles just get like you listen to the Beatles in 1963 and you listen to the Beatles in 1967. It's 4 years, and it's like listening to the Osmonds and they turned into Mozart. You know what I mean? It's just that like boom of, so for me it would be the Beatles. Totally.
No, I hear you, Richie. That was a hacky answer.
Well, Rob Halford said Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd's up there for me. Justin, wait till you see my act.
Comedy Today said they found pot. That's how it changed.
Yes, that's true.
That's actually
Rob Halford said Pink Floyd. Really? That's really fast.
I did not expect that from him.
Oh, yeah, and they're like one of my top all-time bands. So, but that's really interesting that he would pick.
Yeah.
How about yesterday we had? Oh, sorry. I was gonna say yesterday we had Peter Asher on John's show, and he came in that Beatle invasion and he toured with them. And
his sister was engaged to Paul McCartney. How do you not put me on that show? I could have talked for 3 hours.
I didn't even know who Peter Asher was till I met him. I swear to God, and he started telling the story.
You know why they didn't put you on, Richie? Because they wanted Peter to talk.
He said that one time he was being chased by girls in Central Park, right? They were on stage. These girls started chasing him. He dropped his glasses because he was known for these Buddy Holly style glasses. He ran back, picked them up, put them on, and was getting on the tour bus. And he looked back, and a girl was eating the grass that his glasses touched. He's like, and I am not a Beatle. Imagine if they were John Lennon's glasses. Like, he was like, it blew him away, like the power that they had at that time. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Paul McCartney lived in his house.
Wait, is he British too?
Yeah.
So when he said cow, maybe he actually meant a real cow, not a British version of a fat girl. She was eating the grass. This cow was eating the grass. He meant a
that
real
reminds
cow.
me of John Lovitz in A League of Their Own. He goes, "Hey girls, see the grass? Don't eat it."
Don't eat it. That's a great joke.
Jason, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, but okay.
So the guy, Tom, who is actually on Comedy Today, that's Comedy Today, he was a music promoter for a long time, but he also sings a lot of old Irish folk music. I want you to write in your answer, Tom. Who would you want to – would you be want to replace one of the Beatles? And now I want to hear Michael's answer.
That's a hard question.
I know.
My God. You know,
Rob Halford hated me.
I'm a guy that was raised in the 80s that loves harmony and sings doo-wop. Okay. I mean, my music.
So you're basically telling us you want to be Frank Stallone?
Oh, I want to be a lot of people, but not exactly Frank. You're talking about the British invasion stuff. I got to work with a couple of times, and we've since become friends, a guy named Terry Sylvester. Terry took Nash's place in the Hollies. So you're talking about British invasion.
Yeah.
I mean, and God, the hits that they had were just, he's
the
my brother.
The Hollies post Nash are tremendous.
It's cool stuff. And he talks about, which is so cool because I had no idea, and he's telling the story. When they got offered He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, their management didn't want them to do it. They said, you guys sing upbeat, fun stuff, and you're not doing a love song. And they pushed and they pushed and they pushed, and the manager said, well, none of you play piano well enough to record this. So he said, we hired a piano player named Reginald. We paid him £9. He came in and he played. They did it in Abbey Road. Reginald was Elton John. That's who they paid to come into the studio and play.
Wow.
He's my brother. So you think about these intertwined things that, that's the stuff that I really enjoy, things that are kind of off the cuff and you wouldn't put together. But you talk about British invasion stuff and you think about this. I get to do a bunch of shows every year with Dennis Stefano, the Buckinghams, which weren't British, but that was the era. you know, it's cool music, and that's why I said 60s would kind of be where I would go. But I love Journey, I love Styx. I mean, I was a teenager in the 80s. This is the stuff I grew up with, you know.
Right.
So it's really hard to pick, you know, to quote Richie, thanks for not answering the question. Because
all right. If you had to make this is going to be the most important show of your life. All the people who are important to you are going to be in this audience. You get to pick 3 songs in your set list. What are your 3? What songs mean so much to you that you would want put in this?
wow.
Jesus, Mark.
I want to know.
You know, it's like asking a parent which children they love the most.
Yeah, but
Okay,
No,
if
it's
you want to answer
no,
that.
we
it's
do.
Michael. It's even worse though, because what he's saying is, of all of the other children you have, which ones are you willing to murder?
I'm not saying
which
you're
one-
never allowed to sing any other song. I'm saying all the most important people of your life are at this place. What are the 3 songs that represent you?
So
that you would wanna-
three is hard. Well, what I will say is I mentioned
Let's do
prayer.
5.
I mentioned the prayer earlier. I do that just about every show. That's one of the things that's, you know, I get amazing gleeful reactions and I'll get sobbing in an audience. You know, you just don't know what that means to somebody. So the response to that is always clear across the board. You know, I'm a Frankie Valli fan. You know, I've said for years, I have 3 groups that I love: the Bee Gees, the Stylistics, and the Four Seasons. You know, all of that high falsetto, squeaky stuff. That's what I love. You know, 3 tunes that have to be that would be my go-to. You know, I do "You Raise Me Up" in my key, Justin. Okay, just letting you know that. Okay, before you ask me, you know. Again, the same thing that there's, you know, with music and Richie knows this, Justin knows this, anybody that's been a singer on stage, it's different for us. You know, as a comedian, the conveyance of emotion is to make you laugh, is to get you in that joyful mood. We kind of have to, as singers, have to do both. We have to get you to a dark place and make you feel something, and then make you laugh, and then kind of take you back somewhere else. And it's that roller coaster ride that creates that interesting show, so to speak, from top to bottom. I don't know if I told Mark, I was doing a show, and when I do the one-man track show, I'm working off a laptop, and the laptop crapped out. So I had to reboot, and this was during the pandemic, so I went into the stand-up stuff. The audience was masked. I was doing comedy. It was like working to a room full of women wearing burqas. You know, I couldn't see the reactions, and I was losing my mind trying to get that response. You know, so all right, Justin.
Mark's been using that excuse since 2008.
So your audience is still come in masked, Mark, so they can't admit that they came to the show? Is that what goes on?
No, but I wear a mask so nobody knows what I look like.
Justin, jump in.
Okay. So I had to really think about this. So I would probably
go to 5. I'm just.
No, I honestly, it's in a way, it's easier. Yeah, I like Jason's Yakety Sax, the Alley Cat, and Lady Madonna. Yeah, that's it.
I think it means yakety yak, right? Not yakety sack.
No, Yakety Sax.
No, Yakety Sax. Remember Benny Hill?
That's the Benny
Is that
Hill
the name of that song?
Yes.
Yakety
Oh,
Sax.
Yes.
Really? I'm a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. Hey, Jason, don't destroy our structure here.
I can't believe Jason didn't say tequila.
Such an idiot.
Actually, he likes to do that one in Russian, and that's just vodka. Okay. Anyway, no. So I would probably there's 2 songs that I would do that are kind of like in the musical theater realm. I love Tony Bennett's arrangement of Maybe This Time from Cabaret. That's one I think it tears your heart out, but it's a beautiful song. You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel. Again, that one, that's whenever I do that in a show, I tell the story that The first time that I heard it, of course, I heard it in the musical, and we hear that in a melancholic kind of way. A lot of people, when it first came out, it was used during commencement ceremonies or graduation. So some people think of joyful moments when they think of this. Some people think of reverence. There was a short time period where this song was in the Presbyterian hymnal, in the church hymnal, and they changed the word hope to God, and that's what made it be that bit of reverence. And so I always, whenever I perform this, I dedicate it to my audience, and I hope that it is for them whatever it is they need it to be.
You know what, Justin? Before you continue, I'm going to tell you something. It's one of the requests I get a lot, but I'm going to tell you why. Most people know that from the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Absolutely.
That's where, if you ever ask, that's where they thought it came from. They don't even realize the show it came from.
Yeah, that actually it's from a musical, and even in the musical, there's kind of different emotional connotations in the musical, but a beautiful piece. And then just because of my classical background, and especially to all the people that have, that mean so much to me and have supported me through all these years. Again, being this poor kid from Northeast Philadelphia and kind of making this dream that I never thought would happen and help it come true. I would have to do Nessun Dorma from Turandot. Just the last lines of that is, "At dawn there will be victory," and I feel, especially if I had the opportunity to perform for all of the people that I care and love, I feel that's the greatest compliment and gift that I could give them.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Richie?
Mine would be knock knock jokes. No. Two Jews.
So your normal act. Right?
Well, are we talking specific versions of songs or just songs in general?
You get to do whatever you want. It's your show.
Sinatra, Old Man River is just takes my breath away because it's so different than how it was written, what it was written for, what it was written about, how and the way he sings it is just scary. He's just wow. It's probably I think it's his best work. Patsy Cline, Crazy, puts me away. I'm done. I can go, that poor woman just kills me. You're like, I love Willie Nelson. There's a song by Deep Purple called Child in Time that I don't think a lot of people know. And there's the live version. I have a very specific version of it on Made in Japan, their album Made in Japan back in 1972. That version. And it really, the song is okay, but Ian Gillan, the lead singer, does things vocally that are just astounding. And it's why he's considered one of the greatest rock singers of all time. So Child in Time and two more, definitely Yesterday. I mean, how could you not go with McCartney in some way? And I guess I would have to throw in the entire Dark Side of the Moon album.
Rich, I got to tell you
something.
A
long concert.
I've done this a long time, and I have never in my life ever had anybody go from Patsy Cline to Deep Purple in any conversation ever.
I'm a very strange musical lover, so
that was a first for me. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
When you talk about songs and sentiments, I used to close my show with a Bobby Darin tune called "The Curtain Falls."
I love Curtain Falls. I love it.
It's a great song. And the sentiment in it is basically being an entertainer. But the line that I always love the most is, and to think I get paid for this.
Yeah.
That's, every once in a while I have a realization. I get a moment. I've been a full-time musician now for the majority of my adult life. And every once in a while you just get that moment of clarity going, holy shit, I earn my living doing something I love. And that's why that song has always been, that one line is my wake-up call every time I sang it, going, yeah, you better be humble and grateful, because most people don't get to do what we're doing.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because the thing about Bobby Darin was he knew he didn't have a long life to live. So I think it really enhanced what he sang in some ways, because he knew he had this whole problem, and so I love Bobby Darin. Are you a fan of Jimmy Roselli?
I am.
Yeah, me too.
I am. You know, all of that Great American Songbook stuff that Justin was talking about earlier. It's a classier time. It was really well written, well arranged stuff.
Yeah.
Which for me ties into show tunes and Broadway because again, very clever arranging. You know, and then you throw Wooly Bully in with 3 chords, and we just have a party. You know, it's so eclectic to go from one to the other. That's why when we talk about name a couple of songs, it's impossible.
Well, one of my favorite stories in music is that in the 70s, rock and roll got very intricate. You know, bands like Yes, Rush, whoever. I mean, Deep Purple, whoever. It got very Pink Floyd, and then at the end of the 70s, punk hit, and a big reason why punk hit was it was bands going, "Hey, look, this is how it's supposed to be done. This is what, and you can do
attitude.
Anybody can play these 3 chords." Right. And I'm not a big punk fan, but I thought that was interesting. Like that's what I love about music. That whatever's old is new again in music. You know?
And the cool part is that was part of pushing the line. You know, when punk hit, it was another way to kind of push that line. Oh, God, I missed that line. I really do. Me too. You know, something that was edgy and something that was, that there was innuendo and things that were abstract, and you knew damn well what they were talking about, but you would never dare say it. Now it's there's.
I mean, you go from lollipop to WAP.
There you go. That was a really good combination there, Mark. I like it.
That's going to be the name of Michael's next show now.
Lollipop to WAP. And I'll have every Italian in the audience walking up to me going, "How dare you WAP again?"
How can you use it in such a degrading way? I liked it when it was just a derogatory term.
Interesting story about Lollipop. The rumor was, and it's not true, that Rod Stewart played harmonica on that, but he didn't. But it was somebody from a band he was in. But for like 40 years. I mean, not that long ago, someone said to me, "That's Rod Stewart," and I had to look it up, and Rod Stewart was like, "Yeah, it wasn't me," and everybody just took it for granted it was Rod Stewart. So I thought that was interesting. I met Rod Stewart.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was on Jimmy Fallon's show, and I did the warm-up for Dr. Oz right across the hall, and his assistant asked me where the stage manager was, so I took her to the stage manager, and then she realized I didn't work for the show, and she said, "Oh, I didn't know you didn't work for the show." I go, "I don't mind," and I go, "I'd do anything for Rod Stewart." She goes, "You want to meet him?" And I was like, "Yeah." So she's
busy.
in the dressing room. And she said, "This is Richie. He's a stand-up comedian." And he goes, "Oh, I love. How are you, mate?" And then she said, he helped me find the stage manager. And "Thanks, mate." And I was like, "No problem, mate."
I met Fraud Stewart. He's a guy who looks exactly like him, who lives in Detroit.
My mother went to see a Rod Stewart impersonator about a year ago. And she calls me and goes, "God, he's so skinny. His whole body's as big as my thigh."
Might have been the same guy.
It was about 10 years ago that I sang with him with the Philadelphia Orchestra. He was in Philly doing a he was the featured soloist. It was the weirdest lineup. So there was Tom Brokaw was the MC. There was 2 opera stars. Yeah. Tom Brokaw's the MC. Ben Hepner and Angela Brown, both opera stars, were singing. John Lithgow was singing because he was just doing Dirty Rotten Scoundrels on Broadway, and Rod Stewart.
All right, Justin, you just destroyed my story, but go ahead.
Richie, you can shut your camera back off. Go ahead.
So there's 3 points of that evening that like really stick with me. One is that as I'm waiting in the line with the rest of the opera chorus to go on stage to sing with Rod Stewart, John Lithgow's running back to his green room, and he trips and he falls next to me, and I reach out and I catch him. And he just looks up and goes, "That could have been terrible," and then just kept on running. It's like, "Bye, Dick Solomon from Third Rock from the Sun. Nice to meet you." So there was that. The fact that we get to, as an opera chorus, sing "Forever Young" and I think Maggie May with Rod Stewart. So he's going, "Forever Young," and then "Forever Young, Forever Young, Forever Young." So that was fucking weird. But then at the end of the night, we don't get to meet Rod Stewart. So as a caveat, we got to meet one of the members of the audience, actually 2 members of the audience, and that was Prince Charles and Camilla Bowles.
Wow.
So they came up on stage.
Just say there were 2 dudes from South Philly.
I didn't know we were going with that either. I'm like, what?
It's Vinny and Bob.
Yes. Oh no, Vinny and Mikey. Okay, that's what it. No,
we didn't get to meet them. They got to meet you.
Yeah, right. But it was really sweet of them because they came to the front of the stage. The curtain was down, and they made sure to shake hands with every single person in the orchestra and in the opera chorus to thank them for being there to perform.
Justin, because Sarah Ferguson was on Dr. Oz show once, and after her segment, she would not leave till she shook the hand of every person that worked on the show. Yeah. It was and it was really it slowed down everything, and everybody was kind of pissed about it. But I thought it was really cool. I guess it must be an English thing with the nobles that they must have to shake everybody's hand. It's
Yeah, it may be. So you're just trying to say that it was nothing special.
In the wonderful age of Purell, I can't possibly imagine that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's very interesting. And blows my story about Rod Stewart away. But whatever.
Well, you got to actually shake his hand and talk to him. I got to stand 50 feet away from him and do "Forever Young." So
you just got to sing on stage with him. What are you talking about?
Okay. No big deal.
Justin, the check's still cleared, so whatever.
Justin, I didn't like you 10 minutes ago. Okay. But now you're a tenor that sang with Rod Stewart. Yeah. So let
go fuck you.
Wait, is there a way I can draw an X over that window? Hold
on. Hey, this was a great show.
I really enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed coming on, hanging out with us. We're hitting the hour 20. So.
Yeah, I know. This was so much better.
Listen, I just wanted to hang out with Tom. That's the only thing
I appreciate that.
I mean, Jason was so bad yesterday, so to have Justin.
This is going to really make up for how horrible Jason was. But I definitely would love to have you guys back on. I'd love to have you come in, especially if we can do something live and have you guys actually sing.
Yeah, we need to do a live. Justin, you're going to play for us, right, in September?
Yeah, I will be there.
We should mention that, Mark. We're going to do a live show at the West Side Comedy Club on September 29th, right?
Yeah.
Right? September 29th at 7 p.m. And it's going to be a live drinks, jokes, and storytelling. And we're going to have a Broadway guest on, and Tom Cotter is going to be our comedy guest, and Justin's going to be our Paul Schaefer. He's going to play, and we're going to work some stuff out and do some music and have a lot of fun with it. So if you're in Manhattan, please come that night. We'll be
Justin's going to be in the corner going, and Richie wants popcorn.
I think that he's the great guy.
So wait a minute. Hold on. Out of nowhere, there's a piano in front of Justin.
Surprise!
Wait until the gospel singers show up, Michael. It's amazing.
I'm waiting for the white curtain behind them to drop and the dancing girls to come out now. Jesus.
And Justin starts singing
for the late
Kanye
show.
raps.
I love it. Great job, Justin.
Before we take off or anything, I would like you guys to, plug any dates coming up. And Michael, you're going to be heading up our way. We're all in the Northeast. We're all in Philly, New York.
I'm doing a lot up there. Right now, I was just telling you, I'm in the middle of 18 flights in 13 weeks.
Wow.
So I just got back from Idaho. I was in Virginia. Coming back up, I'm playing the PNC Bank Arts Center Thursday night. And I come back down. Then I got 2 shows in New Haven, Connecticut on the 1st and 2nd. Then I go down to Parsippany, New Jersey, which is Led East. I'm doing the concert there on the 3rd and a cameo on the 5th. I'm flying back. I will be at the Keswick Theater. I play the Kimmel Center with Jerry Blavitt every so often in Philly.
The gear with the
So
heater.
you're going to be in Keswick?
I'm doing the Keswick. I'm doing.
What's that date? I live like 5 minutes from there.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I'm not telling you the date. I don't want to see.
I'll just wait outside of the doors for you from now on.
The Keswick is.
Where's Michael?
Keswick is November 20th.
Oh, nice.
I'm there November 20th, and I'm there May 21st of 22. So there's a couple of shows coming up at the Keswick. There's a bunch of things. You know, the key is michaeldiamore.com. If you just go to michaeldiamore.com, everything's there. My waistline measurements, my show schedule, you know, all of that fun stuff. And if you want, if you give me a day or two, I'll make sure I have Justin's schedule there too, because I hate tenors. But I'll put his schedule on my website so you can go check him out. Yo, listen, all I know is I want to know how you squeeze that little piano in there. But seriously, michaeldiamore.com. You know.
That's what
was
she,
that, Rich?
That's what she said. But
The weird thing, she didn't say it to me. I don't know.
Justin,
I highly suggest anybody who has a chance go and see Michael. Amazing show. And
did you say the word shit on purpose?
yeah, you did say shit. Anyone with a shit chance. That's what you said.
If you've never seen the shit show,
You gotta check it out. It's like a whole storm. I really enjoyed going and seeing you when we were down in Florida. And Justin, what do you have coming up?
So the next 2 shows, if you're in New Hampshire or Connecticut, I'm going to be with the Killer Queen Experience on September 3rd at the Tupelo. There it is, the Tupelo Music Hall. And on the
venue.
4th, I'm going to be at the Broadbrook Opera House. It's our first time there. So if you're in Connecticut, come on out and say hi. And there's a date on there that is, if you're down in Virginia, we're going to be September 18th, I believe it is, at the legendary Birchmere Rock and Roll Hall down in Alexandria, Virginia. So very excited to be at, again, back to doing it. We are going to be in New Hope, Vineland, New Jersey, Westchester, PA. We're going to be in Pittsburgh. We're going to be doing some stuff. So it's great to be bringing Queen live to the stage again. And I'll keep you, and JustinGonzalezTenor.com.
And Justin, all right, I was going to say, where can people find you? Richie, you got anything fun coming up?
wait a minute, hold it, time out. We can't go. Is tenor in your website?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I'm hanging up right now. I'm done.
Well, you know why? Well, here's the reason why. Because Justin Gonzalez tenor or JustinGonzalez.com exists, and it's a guy who's whiter than me that plays bagpipes. So I wish I were joking about that bullshit, but so I had to go with JustinGonzalezTenor.com.
That's the one thing I'm very happy. I'm the only Mark Riccadonna.
You know,
We're happy about it too.
Guys, if you want to find me, my website is RichieByrneLyricBaritone.com.
Oh shit!
Real quick, I got a bunch of stuff to plug with Richie and I both. Tomorrow we're going to be live at Governor's doing Christie Unleashed podcast, which is it's going to be a lot of fun. I do believe Rob Bartlett will also be joining us. And then this weekend, without Richie, I will be in Englewood, New Jersey on Friday, and I will be at the Germantown Mermaid in Chestnut Hill, Pennsylvania on Saturday. And then we are playing, Richie and I, Tom will be there, and Justin, I believe you're coming up too, in Poughkeepsie. We'll be in Poughkeepsie at Laugh It Up Poughkeepsie. On September 3rd and 4th, we are going to do a live podcast on the Friday, and then just a straight-up stand-up show on Saturday, 2 shows. You can look up Laugh It Up Poughkeepsie, and you can check us out there. And also, don't forget the 29th West Side Comedy Club on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. We're doing a live show there as well. Richie, I'm sorry I bored you so much that you are now checking.
Well, I was watching where I was playing. Just find me at RichieByrneLyricBaritone.com and you'll find out where I'm playing.
We want to thank everybody watching for joining us on the Drinks, Jokes, Storytelling platform. Tom Bannock.
Mark, I used to be Richie Byrne Soprano, but Soprano.
You were on The Sopranos. You were also Richie Byrne Sex in the City.
Yes.
.com.
I'm
Mr.
so
Bannock.
glad you added in the city. I got scared there. For
Richie Byrne Sex with the City.
Right. .net.
Funny thing is, there was another Richie Byrne Sex. Take it already. So you had to add in the city.
City.
Was he a bagpiper?
He played something.
Different bags.
The word bag and
He was a
pipe were used
teabag
the word bag and pipe were used in the description.
Oh, we should never be allowed to hang out together. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Tom Bannock, why don't you fill us in on where to find you and take us home?
Before even finding me, make sure you check us out. If you missed any of this episode, you want to find us on our YouTube station, Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, or you catch us live on Twitch or on Facebook, Instagram. Definitely join us or any of the podcast platforms to hear more of these incredible shows with our insanely talented guests. Thank you all for coming out. And you can find me at Down to the Felt. Down to the Felt, like right behind me, if you want to gamble or bet on something.
That was the round table, baby. Thank you for tuning in, folks.
Thanks, guys.